Just like the blueberry jam I taught you last time. Adjust directly to cheese filling. It's really delicious. Paired with this beautiful bagel bread base, the first thing you'll think about in the morning is to eat it. Remember to make a few extra. Don't forget to have breakfast every day. 200 grams of high gluten flour, 2 grams of salt and 2 grams of dry yeast, 8 grams of granulated sugar, 8 grams of butter. Then make the bagel dough. It uses relatively little butter. We can add it together, because we don't want pieces of fruit in the dough. So we'll use this Sanibel purple sweet potato powder to adjust the color. 136 grams of milk. Needs to be cold. The room temperature is almost 28 degrees now. We must control the dough temperature. As for the different liquid parts of the flour, about 15 grams needs to be reserved. And this dough recipe is on the drier side. The kneading process will show the state of 2 doughs. That's normal, because it's a two-wind bagel. So you also need to prepare the original flavored dough in the recipe. At the end of the video, everyone can take a screenshot to save it. The mixer needs to knead the dough in 2 batches. So everyone needs to remember. After the first batch of dough is kneaded, place it in the refrigerator. This is to prevent it from proofing too early. Then, randomly cut and combine them together. Just knead it roughly into a ball. Let it rest for about 10 minutes. Use this time to quickly adjust to a blueberry cheese filling. It's really very simple. Just soften 250 grams of cheese to a toothpaste-like consistency at room temperature. 62 grams of blueberry jam. Just mix them well. Simple, right? Actually, this bagel can be made in 2 ways. One way is to wrap it in cheese filling as shown in our video. Then proceed to baking. However, there is a potential issue. For those who don't wrap it well, it may burst during the baking process. It will affect the texture of the cheese. There is also a lazy method. No filling is added to the bagel. Just make the plain version. After the bagels are baked, cut them in half. Add this blueberry cheese filling in the middle. It is also a very good choice. Of course, I've provided you with the methods. How you choose to do it is up to you. Divide the dough into pieces of about 70 grams each. Generally shape them into rounds, because you still need to roll them out and shape. I usually roll them into an oval shape. Let them rest for about 10 minutes. Then proceed to the next step. This resting step is essential. It cannot be omitted. Otherwise, your dough will shrink back while rolling. Squeeze in the filling. Don't be too greedy. Too much can easily cause it to burst. You also need to let it rest for another 10 minutes. Then gently roll it out a little longer. The longer the bagel dough, the bigger the hole in the middle will be. I prefer those plump bagels. This length should be a bit shorter, right? This is also a detail. It's still something everyone needs to experience through practice. The connection point at the back. There are actually several ways to connect. The most common way is something like what I'm doing. Roll it out with a rolling pin. Then wrap it up. There's also a method using scissors to cut it open. And the method where you peel back the layers after rolling. Then wrap the other end in. This depends on personal preference. Once shaped properly, it needs to proof for about 35 minutes. The temperature should be 35 degrees. A humidity of 60 is sufficient. Prepare to boil in sugar water. If you want a lighter color on the surface, we can skip adding sugar. Boil each side for 15 seconds. Boiling in sugar water is a necessary step for bagels. It allows the surface yeast to lose its activity. This helps the bagel maintain its shape. The oven needs to be preheated. Today we're using the new Iris AC90. Bake at 200 degrees on both top and bottom heat. After baking for 5 minutes, cover with aluminum foil. This is mainly to prevent the bagel from coloring. Bake for another 11 minutes. If using a small oven, it's recommended to set it to 180 degrees. This temperature is relatively safe. Wait for it to cool after taking it out of the oven. The rest is just packaging. Usually, they are individually packaged. I made about 40 today, and then distributed them in one day. The really beautiful and delicious bread is gone in an instant. Feel free to check in and submit your assignments. Click on my profile picture. Homepage. There are many useful baking tutorials waiting for you to check in. About 70 grams each can make 20